Big things are happening at this little developing horse property here in Vermont. We rented a tractor, took a tree down, and perhaps the best part was that all you're about to see was done at no cost. More on that later, but first a quick recap. In the last video, we got a winter's worth of hay up in the rental barn hayloft, then brought the boys from the rental barn to my house where they'll be through the end of September. This is a temporary arrangement meant to give me a bit of a relief from having horses in multiple locations, and also to be able to work with and assess where the horses are at, particularly as I'm trying to sell at least one of them. It was a rather spontaneous decision and I just threw things together, but this is the little setup that I came up with. The horses are constantly being rotated between the paddocks and then also their grazing space. Early fall is typically a really nice time of the year in Vermont, which gave me the confidence to bring the boys home to my house despite not having shelter for all the horses. You can see there's lots of natural shelter and wind protection, especially being in a little valley surrounded by trees. I live on just under 2 acres, most of which is usable, but 4 horses can do a number to the land, which is why I have designated spaces where I've brought good footing in. And that was one of the best decisions that I ever made. But this footing is so great, it really relieves my mind to know my horses aren't standing around in mud, and also makes chores a lot easier. It does require maintenance. About every year or so we get more put in. Actually, last year I had a load delivered and it has been sitting here ever since. Other expenses popped up and you know how it is. Here we are a year later. So we'll be adding footing to the round pen here, as well as the 2 new paddocks that I added, which don't currently have any footing at all, so they get pretty messy when it rains. On a nice stretch of weather, we rented the tractor for a weekend, which was about $400. And then it was time to begin work. We began on Friday night with moving all of the panels out of the way of the tractor. Nathan has in the past hit one of my panels and damaged it pretty badly, so I made sure that we pulled the panels way back. Much further back than actually we intended, which made us think, hey, let's remove this dead tree, which we also wanted to have down anyway. And that's the pile of gravel that's been sitting there for over a year. But anyway, I haven't really ever given a tour of the property, which I'll show you guys really quick. So I have an open space up above where the round pen is, and then there's a narrow run down here, which shoots, got a little crazy with the drone there, which goes down to this pasture down below. I should also mention that Friday night prior to this, Nathan had done a significant amount of leveling the area behind this shed, which is essentially the new addition. And now we're going to start, before we get the gravel down, with cutting down this tree. This tree has been dead a while, so it needed to come down before it hit a horse, panel, or my horse trailer. That was probably the best spot for the tree to land. Now it's time for pickup, so Nathan takes his chainsaw and starts cutting off the limbs to make it easier to move. Once that's done, it's time for pickup, which happens pretty easily with the help of this tractor. Okay, I had a moment where I held my breath, seeing my leaf blower almost get crushed right there. While Nathan's picking up the bigger branches, I start picking up the smaller pieces, and all in all, this happens pretty quickly. I'm telling you, without the tractor, this would have been a very different story. So right now we're keeping the limbs from the branches and moving them down the hill over here. I'm saving them because I want to turn my property into something like a track system, which if you don't know, a track system is meant to encourage natural movement by strategically placing resources like the food, water, shelter in different locations. And it's something I've wanted to do. I'm going to have to do it low budget, but the way my property is laid out is long and narrow. So though it's only 2 acres, it really does allow the horses to stretch their legs as they run from the lower field through this narrower section, and then in a little bit they'll be on this part where we're dumping these logs, which I want to use as just some natural things for them to step over. As we continue to pick up from this tree, I let Jaeger go out to the bottom field with the girls. He's been spending a little bit of time with them lately. Sometimes he can be a bit of a bully to Theodore, but the girls keep him in his place. Sparrow definitely calls the shots around here. Now that the tree is all picked up, we're going to use the tractor again to start spreading the new gravel. Once Nathan dumps it, he uses the tractor's bucket to evenly disperse the gravel. Pretty soon that job is done, though we still have to assemble panels, but first we're going to take a break. So let's take a look at some of the work that was done this weekend. Things are still in a bit of a disarray. I literally just pushed everything back and out of the way. But yeah, you can see the gravel is now pretty much all around the shed there. Nathan also did quite a bit of work with drainage, trying to get channels for the water to move. So hopefully that, along with this gravel, will just make this a really nice space. I mentioned earlier in the video that getting gravel was one of the best decisions that I made starting out. I stand by that. It has just been so helpful. So here's one of the sad things about living here. You can see the sun is still up, but you can kind of see what a valley that I live in. So the sun disappears long before sunset, which is really sad. Anyway, so now we have to put the panels back together, which is quite a job. Here's me on my favorite perch right there, but here's another look at what we just did. How beautiful is this gravel? Oh my goodness, I love it. So here's the really cool part. The tree that we cut down was a black walnut tree, which is worth quite a bit of money to furniture makers. So Nathan listed it on Facebook Marketplace, and we already had someone come out who wants to buy it and bring their sawmill, and they're purchasing it for $1,200, which more than covers both the tractor and the gravel for this upgrade. Not a bad deal if you ask me. Anyway, thanks for watching.